Hello, good evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it is, and welcome. God, my hair looks like that Man United fan. I've just noticed that.
Mm.
Welcome to Sunday Night Breakdown. Daniel Ratledge and Dave Forrester with you to go through the weekend's action in Super League basketball. Dave, I hadn't realised last week when we were signing off that Newcastle were playing Leicester. So you missed an Eagles versus Riders game for a family event, Dave. What's happened?
I
What's
missed it.
going on?
I actually missed one a couple of years ago as well. It was yeah, exactly. The not
How
good, not
times have
good.
changed.
I know.
Shocking.
And on top of that, I'm being invited to make comments about hair here. This
Well,
is,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
so far out of my comfort zone. It is
Was Centre
dangerous.
Parcs good, Dave? That's the important bit.
The pickleball courts are hurt.
Uh,
After chasing around after 8-year-olds hitting the pickleball,
yeah. They're
and
a bit
obviously,
small, aren't they? Pickleball, isn't it smaller than
yeah.
tennis?
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
still, it's as the age goes up, the court size comes down, and obviously there's a lot of walking because I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
on the
yeah.
right, I'm not going to ride a bike, but yeah, it was a worthwhile exercise. I'm very grateful to the in-laws for organising it,
Excellent.
and to be frank, beat Newcastle v Leicester, all hands
Yeah,
down.
yeah. You also, because you're no longer on Twitter, Dave, you missed the
Oh,
excitement. I set a quiz today.
yeah, quiz.
Nobody's got the right answer.
All
So
right.
you can have a go if you want, Dave.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Come
So
on.
don't ask me how, but
Yeah.
today I discovered in the live stats era that
Hmm?
between 0 seconds and 40 minutes and 0 seconds, there is only 1 second that a player hasn't played in the live stats era, and various people have been guessing various different numbers to see if they could find the 1 second between 0 and 40 minutes that nobody has played.
Nobody has played at all.
Well, it's they've not finished the game with that precise time. So there is
Oh, the
17
minutes
people or
played.
something who's played 1 second, and there's a
I see.
1700 people who played
Oh,
40 minutes
that's
and
just
whatever.
that's not a
It's just
knowledge
it's a
question.
total random guess. Yeah.
How I don't even want to know how you
No,
found
don't ask how.
how
Don't
you
ask how. I
how you
just just
cared.
just noticed. I just
Um,
happened to notice it.
so yeah, okay. Well, logically, it would be closer to the extremities than the other one, than
Well, I'll
the
give you
middle.
the
I
inside.
think
I'll give you
I
the
would
inside
go with
in.
something like 6 seconds or something. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well, quite a few people did go low, and
Hmm.
obviously I'd already told them that 1 and 2 seconds wasn't go. Somebody went 39.59,
Yeah,
which actually there's only one person, Zaya Taylor. But obviously the higher end of the scale gets skewed by overtime games because you get
exactly.
more players at the top end of 30 by that.
Yes.
So it's
No, I would go like 6 seconds, something like that.
6 seconds. It's not the right answer, Dave,
No.
but I happen to have the spreadsheet open, so I can tell you how many people have played
Six.
6 seconds, if you like.
I
Just
never
because
ever
15,
thought that I would. I
15.
never ever thought that I would be literally gobsmacked
Yeah,
by the nature of a stat you've
yeah,
produced.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Because numbers are numbers. But this one has got me the
yeah,
concept of even caring to any degree about this,
yeah.
let alone the week before Christmas. It's just mind-boggling. Congratulations, proud of you.
You're welcome. Do you want to know the answer? I've not
Oh,
put
you
it
may as
out
well.
on Twitter, so you'll be the
Oh,
first to know
yeah,
the
well,
answer.
it'll go up before this does,
Yeah,
won't
yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on. Is it? Yeah, go on.
6 minutes and 36 seconds. There you
Ooh,
go.
I wonder if there's some mathematical significance in that because obviously we got 36 is the square of six, isn't it?
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So
even gone into
it's
that sort of depth.
36.
Think
Oh,
about
right.
it.
So nobody has ever played 6 minutes
In the
36.
live stats era, so since 2008,
I am on
nobody's
that
been
from now
recorded as
on.
six
Every
thirty.
single game now.
This is the thing now to look at, isn't it? Forget triple doubles. Will anybody get? This is the new
In fact,
scoregami.
I think we should start a new internet
Yeah.
sensation. 6:36. Maybe hands down instead of hands up.
There we
Think about
go.
we could be going viral with
We
no,
could be. Yeah,
and this would be
this
the
could be
start of
the
it. And
our
only
big break,
200,
Dave.
200 sad souls who watch this on YouTube would know where it started. We'd be part of an absolutely really incredibly tight knit club. It'd be great.
It would. There's been at least four people who've given me an answer on Twitter, so that
Oh,
would make six
there
of us,
you,
Dave.
there you, mate. That's sad. There are our people.
They are our people,
There
most
are our
definitely.
people.
Before we get into the game, Dave, I wanted to congratulate the SLB on Friday night for what I'm pretty sure was the least accessible game night in the history of sport in this country. Well done to them for that. And I was also going to ask you, Dave, if you'll give me a minute or two to
Yes,
educate, having educated our audience already on 636, to educate them
so,
on colour vision deficiency or colour blindness, as most people refer to it as.
yeah.
First of all, very few people are actually colorblind, as in monochromacy, where they can't see color at all. And where they are, that's usually the brain not being able to perceive colors rather than anything to do with sight. Most people who are colorblind have either a red green deficiency or a yellow blue deficiency. Red green is by far the most common, and
Yeah.
it's broken down into two groups, protan and deutan. Protanopia and deuteranomally is green weak. So if you've got this version, particularly protanopia, you're
Mhm.
likely to struggle with green versus orange. Protanopia and protanomaly is red weak, so it impacts at the darker end of the scale. If you've got protanopia, you're likely to struggle to distinguish red and black. And finally, the least common of them all is Triton. If you've got Tritonopia, it's possible you might struggle with light blue against dark blue. So we had three simultaneous games on Friday night that all picked a different version of color blindness to cover to make sure that we didn't miss anybody out. Now, I've given the stats before, Dave, but they bear repeating.
Yes, they do.
The prevalence of CVD is 8% in men, or 1 in 12. It's about
Yeah,
1 in 200 in women. So probability says there is somebody on every men's team who is colorblind. Given there
yeah,
were no female refs in any of those three games on Friday night, there were 13 men on the court at all times. So probability says somebody on the court at all times is colorblind. And if we assume that there are 28 participants in the game, three refs, 25 players, and
yeah,
coaches, it's probably more than that, but that's the low end. There is a 9.4% chance that none of them are colorblind. So over 90% chance that
yeah. Well,
somebody in the game is colorblind. If I times that by three, there is a greater than 99.9% chance of at least one of the participants of those three games to
yeah,
be colorblind. I'd expect six or seven of them,
yeah.
but there's basically two or three participants in every game that will have some form of color deficiency, and
Mm.
it's basically statistically impossible to say across three games nobody will be. It's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. That's the people who are playing in the game. Never mind the people who paid their money to come through the door. If I guesstimated how many people attended and I guesstimated the gender makeup of that, I would say somewhere between 110 and 170 people on Friday night turned up to a game with the potential where they might struggle to tell the difference between the two teams. Um, and 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 we've charged these people to come in and do that. Now, I get it. People will say to me, well, it doesn't impact on me, so why should we rewrite the rules to accommodate you? Firstly, I would say go back and re listen to the last 30 seconds and the stats. That's the reason why you should do it. Secondly, why not? It doesn't actually hurt anybody to be accessible, it makes it easier for everybody. And thirdly, don't do anything for me. Just enforce the rules that you already have. That's all you need to do. Just enforce the rules that you already have. And I have the rules here
Thought you
on my
might.
piece of paper, but my piece of paper is stuck and I can't get to it. There we go. 19.2 of the Super League Basketball operating rules states as follows. The home uniform must be predominantly dark in colour and the away uniforms light in colour. Well, I double check with ChatGPT just to make sure it's not me and my biases. But orange is not considered a light colour,
It's
and
not.
neither is red considered a light colour. So we've allowed Cheshire and Leicester to select an away colour that doesn't conform to the existing rules. The next bullet point of the rules, the dominant colour in the home kit needs to be different to the dominant colour in the away kit. Well, Caledonia play in blue at home and light blue away, so that doesn't conform to the rules either, although they have now recently turned up with that sort of grey tartan
Silvery thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kit that's come out. So why they didn't use that in Bristol instead of playing in that at home, on Sunday when they could have played in blue. I don't know. So
Mm,
just enforce the rules as they exist, and I wouldn't have to sit here on a regular basis moaning about kit clashes. It's not actually that difficult. I've been banging on about it for years. The erstwhile chairman acknowledged it on social media last year when we had all that issue with the trophy group of being red and black and green.
yeah.
And I've mentioned it to clubs. This isn't coming out of nowhere. I've mentioned this to various different clubs at times. I've even had colourblind members of club staff come to me and tell me they agree with me and they wish they'd do something about it.
Solidarity.
So all you need to do to stop me wanging on over and over again every couple of months is to have rules enforced that we already have. We don't have to write any new rules. Just enforce the ones that we've got now, and I'll stop.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right yet again. It's unjustifiable. I mean, there has been more of a prevalence of these kind of middle colors, if I put it that way,
Mm,
oranges, greens, and that
mm,
type of thing, which have kind of crept into the sport, because maybe I was just ignorant of it because it didn't affect me but when I was on the bench, I just remember lights and darks. I'll be honest,
mm.
I really don't
Well,
remember
in ye olden
that
days,
much.
Telly would enforce it because the
Yeah,
viewfinders were black and white, so they needed something to be able to see the difference. So light and dark, you couldn't play green versus orange if they were looking at
it's
it in
almost like
grayscale.
everybody used to have a white.
Yeah, yeah,
That to my mind was
or maybe a yellow.
maybe a yellow because Sheffield were yellow,
Mm,
but every and that just, as I say, it seems to there's it's a marketing thing, or in April when the
If
clubs
it's
get
a marketing thing, they have three kits. Have a
well,
third one. Have a white one as well as your red
and
and your
get the
black.
first two delivered for August.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
No, there's no excuse. There's no rationalization. There's no excuse. It's it's bog standard, and it's not just relevant to basketball. It's relevant to all sports, probably
Mm,
apart from cricket.
mm.
Um, you
And
know,
it's taken years, by the way. I'm not saying that everybody's doing it better. It's taken years for rugby, for the Wales and
Ireland,
Ireland game to be visible to people like me. And
yeah,
and actually, they played South Africa a couple of months ago, Ireland, and Ireland played in white at home
yeah,
because obviously South Africa seemingly don't have a kit other than green. But at least it's happening, and there are rules in football. They don't always enforce them either, by the way. There's still clashes you see regularly, but people are doing something about it, and it's not actually that difficult to do. It's
no,
not actually
not really.
that difficult.
But it's not. And yeah, everybody should have to have a white kit. Bottom line. Well, yeah, okay, yellow maybe, whatever. But a light kit has to be signed off as light.
Yeah,
Because there are
yeah,
more dark colours than there are light colours, I'm
yeah.
guessing.
There
So
is, yeah,
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 the more dark wearable colour. So everybody's light kit needs to be light, and that doesn't mean it's a block of bright colour, I'm afraid. So yeah, 100% entirely on your side. In fact, I did actually when I watched the Newcastle Leicester game back. The Leicester all playing red this season away from home.
They've got red and black. I think is the only two colours that they've got.
Ah,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay. They're playing it black at home, right? Because
yeah,
they all used to have a white kit away from home.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and the red. I thought the red kit was at home.
yeah.
Dark was
Yeah.
so red and white. Anyway, yeah,
Well, that's the problem. Which is the dark kit, the red
yeah,
or the black?
red and black. Yeah, well, really, they're both dark, aren't they?
Yeah. Right. Let's talk some
Mm.
basketball. Let's start
Yeah.
with the Tritonopia game. Bristol Flyers 87, Caledonia Gladiators 67. Still no Holland. Fag Benley was out. Delpesh and Wright were back. Dwayne Jones Jr. Appears from nowhere, seemingly unannounced, as a new signing. Holden was back into the starters for Bristol. Flyers jumped out to an early lead in this one, 18-9 up after 6 minutes.
Never thought we'd get to the point whereby we're naming a game after Colourblind. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Dwayne. I remember Roy Jones Jr. He could punch a few
He
people.
could, yeah,
In the second game of this week, Dwayne had a pop as well.
yeah.
Just not so much really a punch, more of a kind of a little argument with Dean Williams.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
More
and
of a shove than
more of a
a
shove, really, kind of
yeah.
shove to the upper solar plexus type job. Um, but yeah, so that was Holland's still on the bench, so I assume he's a part-time kind of signing to cover over. Holland must have some form of injury again, but we don't know. I think they had a spare spot anyway. But I'm still not sure that's the main kind of area of need. Um, Bristol, yeah, Holden was playing. I thought Holden played with a lot of purpose in the first half in this game, and kind of separated them a little bit. The biggest thing I got with the game was that it's difficult to see any belief in Caledonia that they're going to win a game.
Mm,
And they are playing. I raised this with you this morning on text. They are playing. They seem to permanently be behind in games, and not just behind in games by a point where they're trading blows. They seem to be permanently behind by 8, 9, 10 points, and they're making just enough shots to kind of hang around and maybe make themselves feel good. But you don't get the impression that you almost get the impression that some of those players have fallen into that slump whereby that mindset whereby they're just trying to hang on,
mm,
as opposed to getting particularly wound up about the fact that they're losing,
mm,
um, and they have some pieces now. I think Brian will probably help them in the long run. He looks like everything that probably Alan wasn't. He's probably less skilled, but certainly more competitive, if I can put it that way. Spielman's a solid stretch for. With Wright and Ragsdale healthy, they can score the ball. Jimenez has stepped up. Um, but I'm looking for that little bit of kind of belief in them to say, we're going to play with you. We're going to go toe to toe with you. And we're going to make the plays that we need to make. Now it's very difficult to get that when you've got a new team and you've got players always coming in,
mm,
because everybody's trying to facilitate and set their own place in clay, as it were, to get their own foot in the team. And it's hard to get that kind of togetherness. But it is a bit of an intangible. But I'm just not seeing it.
mm,
That's the problem. Um, I don't think Bristol were great in this game. Um, they did kind of what they do, but they just I thought they played with more physicality than Caledonia did, if that makes any sense.
mm,
And I'm not sure that Caledonia have any other way that they can play. Obviously, Frank Bentley wasn't there in this game; he's got tonsillitis, so they miss a little bit of athleticism as well. I think they probably need another 4 or 5 games together before Caledonia, but I'm not sure that the season's getting busy.
mm. You,
Uh,
you mentioned the text earlier. It was a good start. We might as well give
mm,
it. You asked me when was the last time they were ahead, but they were actually ahead yesterday against London. But in the last 5 games, the sum total of Caledonia being in front was 15 seconds against London, and then against Sheffield they led for 52 seconds, 18 seconds, and 21 seconds. So basically they've led for 100 seconds or
and
whatever
that's
it's
in two
over
of the
that. So
games. So three of the games that they've
three of
three
the
of the
games
last
they were
5 games they've
behind.
not
Yeah,
been behind for being behind from
yeah.
from
And
from
the
the top.
latest they've led was 6:32 on the clock in the first quarter in the
So
last 5 games.
yeah, so yeah, I mean that's kind of scary, that
Mm,
because you're wanting a reaction, you're wanting someone to take a charge or someone to make a play or someone to go on a binge. I'm
mm,
gonna Ragsdale did it a little bit against London on Sunday. We'll talk about that. Made a few, but it's all kind of there just seems to be an air of resignation about them.
mm,
I'm not sure Jones is going to make that much of a difference to that because I'm not sure. Um, yeah, he looks from his resume. He looks like it's something of a kind of a guard forward. But they put the ball in his hands a lot in this game as well when he played, and obviously he's going to take a while to settle into that. And his resume doesn't suggest that he's kind of going to be the very highest level SLB point guard. So
mm.
we'll see where that goes. I
We
just sorry, go on.
You used the same phrase that I've written down. Caledonia sort of hung about. They were never in front, but most of the time they were within 10. And then Jimenez got a fourth foul in the third quarter. And then around the final break, Bristol went on a 14-4 run to go 70-53 and seal the game.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm not really got much to say about Bristol because I thought they were kind of what they were. They've got a pretty stable team. They know what their roles are. They're going to perform their roles to varying degrees of quality on a night to night basis. McCormack is shooting the lights out at the moment, certainly in that gym, and and Delpeche is really being a nuisance for everybody else. He's really a different player than he was last year, and the guards are solid. you know. So there's not really they're a bit boring to talk about at the moment. I'm afraid Bristol, sorry guys, but that coaches will take boring 20-point wins.
Mm,
I just worry for Caledonia that they're kind of the team that everybody else is looking at, thinking, okay, they're the guy around the poker table that everyone's thinking we're going to be, you're the mark here.
mm,
They really need to I don't know, develop some kind of elbows almost.
mm,
It's harsh because look, Wright's been out
mm.
a lot. Holland's been out.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week. You take your two American import guards out of most teams in this league and play them against the two American import guards for the other team. Then you are playing with one hand behind your back.
And they're also in that change where early on in the season they were very Allen centric, and
Yeah.
obviously Allen is now in Israel.
Yeah, well, he's a guy you have to build a team around until he decides he doesn't want to be part of it anymore.
Mm,
And then that just lets it. So and unfortunately, that's always a trade-off with signing real talent. Is that, how many clubs have you played for and where have you been and how long do you stay?
mm.
And can you change that, And unfortunately, he was one of them, with all every team over the past few years has had, people like that ultimately you're signing for the talent, but you get the fallout as
The
well.
everything else as well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have Teddy Allen, although
Well,
uh,
did you see, by the way, somebody sent me the stats the other day. He and Johnny O'Neill, who of course left to sign but never showed up, combined for what was it? It was 57 points off 18 of 22 shooting in the G League against each other the other day.
yeah, they can play, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But there's a reason,
yeah,
Well, obviously O'Neill, you don't know, he never came. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
maybe he's looking at getting a gig in
yeah,
the league.
yeah.
So yeah, so overall, when Wright is back, when they've got Rags there, obviously they don't have Holland, which is tough, and they don't have Allen, which is tough. They just struggle to generate good looks. Caledonia, I think. Everything is hard, and that's tough on the road.
McCormack, a 4 of 7 from behind the arc, 20 points, 9 rebounds. Joachim, 12 points and 8 rebounds. Joe Anderson, 12 points and 5 assists. Wright, 21 shot attempts for 24 points. Spielman, 10.
Yeah, he's getting them up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were the only two in double figures. Jones, by the way, 4 points, 3 assists, 21 minutes. Right, let's go to the Protonopia game. Newcastle Eagles 98, Leicester Riders 85. All the usual absentees for Newcastle. Terrell Burden Jr. I did see a social media post announcing his arrival. Was in, and Duke is still out for Leicester. Eagles scoring well in the first quarter, Dave. You talked about their slow starts. I looked it up today. They're averaging 19.4 points in the first quarter, which is by far their lowest scoring quarter of the game. But they came out and put 30 on the board in this one and tied their best quarter of the
Yeah, well,
first quarter of the
if you
season.
average that out with the 7 they scored on Wednesday night in Bulgaria,
Mm.
you get to about 19.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, Newcastle managed, just a brief mention, I mean, remarkably to be 38-7 down, including, I think, 23-0 down against a pretty average team in Pleven in Bulgaria on Wednesday night, and nearly won the game,
Mm.
which says it all, really. So I think it was pretty likely that, given the way that they started the game on Wednesday night, that they were going to be slightly different on Friday night.
Yeah.
And it does rather put to shame all the excuses I've made about travel before, doesn't it? That
Yes.
day, spent 16 hours. I didn't get back home till late on Thursday night and played on Friday. It just goes to show it's a mindset.
Mm.
They weren't ready to play in Bulgaria, and that's why they're losing 23-0, which a professional team is, indescribably bad.
Mm.
You know, and so they just weren't ready. But what it did do was it meant that Burden got to play quite a lot
Yeah.
game, which gave him kind of a bit of so it was a very useful game for Newcastle on the basis that they're very unlikely to win the EMBL, but
Yeah.
they have, they have upwardly mobile aspirations in the SLB, and it got Burden a game before he had to come into to Leicester, and yeah, and they did, and it was Newcastle played with a degree of aggression from what I could see. I thought, when Clark came in and hacked Evie,
Mm.
and then hacked him again and got thrown on the floor, and then Defoe got in there and they all kind of separate. I thought that it's tough, isn't it? But
Mm.
um it's a mid-table game in the SLP, but there's still a bit of history there, you
Yeah.
know. And I just thought that kind of the Newcastle kind of sent a message, which is, we're ready to we're a bit different to when we were when you blew us out like 6, 7, 8 weeks ago.
Mm.
Um, and there's and overall, I mean, my dad texted as well. Obviously, he gets to play, he gets to watch. I think I was in the
Pickleball.
subtropicals, maybe in the subtropical swimming
Oh,
paradise.
nice,
I,
nice.
that wasn't that
Is the
tropical.
outdoor slide thing open?
Yeah, well, it might have been. The kids found out. Which I just found the warmest bit of puddle of water I could, at my age. But my dad texted and said this is a fun game at half time.
Yeah.
I think it kind of was because there's a sufficient degree of feistiness and quite a lot of talent and not a fantastic amount of defense.
Mm, mm. Threes from Cole from I've put threes from Cole and Long, so I don't know what I don't know what that means. Somebody other than Cole Long must have hit a three as well.
Yeah.
Had Eagles up 12, and they remained comfortably ahead until the third quarter when Leicester posted 10 in a row to make it 59-58, and Eagles went 0 for 8 from three in the third quarter.
Yeah, and that's kind of a little bit. They got better shots. I mean, just go back to the incident with Clark and Thingamajiggy, Clark and Evie.
Evie.
Kind of got that right.
Mm,
In that, my understanding is, Clark fouls him. Evie continues to drive. Probably wouldn't have got the arm one anyway because it's probably before wonderful. But Clark decides to hit him again.
yeah.
Kind of on the wrist to stop him getting. He would say to stop him getting the shot off, but in reality, it's probably send a message.
Yeah.
And Evie doesn't like that, so Evie kind of throws him over. So I think by rule, the second to foul is an unsportsmanlike foul
Correct. Yeah.
when the ball
Yeah.
is dead. So Clark gets one for the first one, he gets another one for the second one, and Evie gets unsportsmanlike for throwing him over.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's what you said the other game about which side of the court it's at, because Battle got very close to the court.
Oh, right. I didn't even notice that bit.
You see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
No, Battle came out in front of the advertising board. He didn't quite get to the core. And
Yeah.
I know someone grabbed him. I know Pablo wasn't there. And everything's all right with Pablo at the moment, and the band. But he just didn't quite get onto the court.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, but it wouldn't have mattered because Nick Kane's not been suspended yet, and it's like 9
Yeah.
weeks later. But I thought they called that right, which was a double unsportsmanlike and the initial foul on Clark. So some credit there. In the third quarter, Leicester came out, I think, with Rob having told them that giving up 55 points on the road is in the first half isn't acceptable, and they did pick up their defense a little bit. They're a weird kind of team to look at, Leicester, because you look at them and the way they're starting. Spencer Johnson, who is their starting small forward, is actually the smallest player.
Mm.
Carey looking at him is 6'4", Battle probably 6'5", and Johnson's probably 6'2", 6'3".
Mm.
So I can't think of another team I've come across that's had a small forward that's been smaller than the two starting guards. They struggled with their bench in this game. I mean, Sulaiman had one of those games whereby you'd want to forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
missed a couple of layups. He missed
Yeah.
gimme in transition. Shot a three which didn't go. Got blocked. Just didn't look ready. And unfortunately, there were small margins
Mm.
because Battle came out in the third quarter and made some tough shots. Carey continually used his size advantage to put pressure on the rim with the Newcastle guards. That kind of took Leicester a little bit out of what they do, I thought, because he shot 16 foul shots, but kind of took them out of their normal rotation. So Loving and Johnson didn't get as many shots, and Newcastle just kind of broke out of their torpor at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and that's the difference that Burden's going to make. I think Burden's going to be a big difference because he gets into the lane and makes plays, and they had nobody who could get in the lane and make plays for everybody else. And they've got some pretty serious shooters on that team if they get good shots. But they weren't getting good shots before now. And so I thought that kind of opened things up. And then and Defoe's defense basically stifled Leicester a little bit and got them out running, and Long made some shots.
Scores were tied early in the fourth quarter, along with 3 threes in a 13-2 run to 80-69, and that was basically the ball game.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle made 15 threes. They made, to be fair, they shot 15 threes, 15 of 47 in Bulgaria on Wednesday night, and made another 15 on Friday night. That's not a team which up until now this season has been looking like anything like they're making 15 threes. And I think they got a few in transition, and it helps when Long steps up and knocks the shots down that he wasn't making earlier. But I just think they feel a little bit better about. I think they all seem to fit a little bit better with a relatively high caliber point guard there.
Mm,
I just think that if everybody is playing a little bit more within their comfort zone, takes a lot of pressure off Taylor, who's had a lot of expectation on him to do score and facilitate as a rookie, and it puts Clark into kind of a third guard situation where he can be your irritant,
mm,
and make some winning plays. Leicester, I think Rob was probably a little bit disappointed. I heard his comments on Instagram after. I think he's probably a little bit disappointed with their competitiveness on the road. I think he would have probably wanted them to be a bit more. Um, Not that they backed down, not that they did anything wrong, but I think they're still a new team. Um, the kind of the Evie as the sixth man thing is interesting because it's clearly it wasn't what he was brought in to be. He's not kind of what you would think as your kind of common sixth man. He's not he's a point guard. He's a proper starting quality point guard. Um, so that and then they've got to get something out of without Nduku in particular. They've got to get something out of Sulaiman,
mm,
and you have to remember ultimately Newcastle did win this game, and they did, and they won it relatively comfortably, and they've still got Okafor and Ward Hibbert to come back. So
mm,
they have a degree of depth to them that probably Leicester don't quite have.
mm.
Um, but Leicester got a lot of talent there, so we'll see where it goes.
Jack 3 points, Long 5 of 6 from 3 point range for 22 points, Taylor 16 points and 7 assists, and Burden, we should give his numbers on debut, 14 points and 7 assists. Carey 23 points, 15 of 16 from the free throw line, but he didn't actually miss any.
No, he thought
Uh,
that was a problem.
yeah.
Thought he missed.
Yeah, no, I wasn't 100% convinced that he stepped over the line, but
No, neither was I.
yeah. Battle 21 and Menzies 10. And finally, the Deuteranopia game, Jave. You've been waiting for
On that
this.
one though,
Yeah,
that means that Loving and Johnson really didn't get many touches of the
yeah,
basketball
yeah,
in that game. They didn't score. Johnson hardly shot the basketball.
yeah.
That's a problem for Leicester. They're not a team that they only had 15 assists in this game. That's not the way that they normally play. I
Mm,
think to a certain degree, um, the difficulty was with Carey having the basketball so much that he had such an obvious mismatch on the smaller guards
mm,
that it kind of took them out a little bit of what they did. So
mm.
that'll be something to look at in the going forwards. Sorry, go on. The final
So,
game, the what?
Deuteranopia.
Chernobyl.
Deuteranopia. Yeah, game. Surrey 89ers, 79. Cheshire Phoenix 101. It feels like they get 79, 69 and 99 quite regularly, but 89 not so much. Anyway, Lawrence is still out. Policelli was out for this game for Cheshire, so Linda was into the starting lineup for them. It was an even start to the game, but for me, the warning lights were flashing, I thought, for Surrey. They were losing people on
Yeah,
the 3 point line. They were getting killed on the offensive boards. I thought it was luck that they were ahead 14-13 after 9 minutes.
I thought it was looked at. Cheshire only had 13.
Yeah.
I mean, the shot quality differentiation was massive. I mean, sorry, it's tough for them. They've kind of gone under the radar because they haven't played many games, and we've been trying to figure them out.
Mm,
The problem that they've had is to a certain degree a little bit similar to Newcastle losing Ward Hibbert, and you can't really replace a British player like Queally.
mm,
And certainly two of them. Obviously Lawrence, you have to take into account he's probably going to be injured at some point in the season. That's his history. But you're saying a guy like Queally who actually was moving towards a leadership role in that team, I
mm,
think, and then he goes down. They aren't London. They can't just whistle up somebody and bring somebody else in. They've
mm,
still got a spare import spot if they want to use it. But instead they've promoted Nwankwo, so he's getting more minutes. So that they're still staying true to the kind of the promotion of the British players. I worry for them a little bit on this because basically Polite and Lily have to do an enormous amount of heavy lifting now
mm,
without Queally who can handle it and without Lawrence who can handle. And the it's great playing young bigs, but young bigs have to be kind of dipped in and dipped out. They can't be boiled like the frog continuously. They have to hop in and hop out. And ultimately, the different you can break down the difference in this game multiple ways, but fundamentally, you tell me what percentage that White and Zona combined for from the 3.9. Because I reckon they must have made 7 or 8 between them. I haven't looked at the stats.
Zona was 5 of 9. I haven't written down Skylar's.
He made a few as well early in that gym, and
He
it's
made
like
the first two of the game.
the first two. He made the first two of the
So
game,
there's at least 7.
and that's your 4 alarm fire. That is it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
big, and why? Well, who's guarding those guys? Well, they're having to guard them with Ling or Graham or Nwanko, who are young big guys, and they weren't able to do it. The pick and pop and the simple pick and pop killed them.
9
Time.
of 18 combined, those two, Zona and White.
That's 27 points from those guys, and that has to be that. I'm sure it's the top of Lloyd's scouting report. It just has to be, and yet the ones that they got were good looks, and that you could see, and it wasn't complicated actions that they were running. They just ran it quickly. They knew
Well, it
it.
was as soon as the first two went in, I thought they are in big trouble here. Sorry.
Yeah. And and he looks down his bench. He doesn't really, it's tough to switch screens with two kind of smallish guards with Lily and Polite. So you've got to kind of ask the bigs to be able to defend that, and they haven't really got a four-man who can who you can toggle on. You could put maybe somebody on Diggins and put one of your bigs on Diggins and put a four-man on Skylar White. They haven't really got anybody who can do that. So it's tough for them to find solutions with what they've got. Small maybe, but he's a four, but he's kind of a wing really in his game. So I just thought they did an awful job of defending that, and I thought Cheshire were comfortable. Comfortable in the fact that they were getting the shots that they wanted to get almost throughout the game, and Surrey were having to work really, really hard. Look, Cheshire are good, I mean, they're good in the things that they do in relation to the way that they crash the glass, the energy that they play with, and they do attempt to play defense. That's not, this isn't a team that runs up and down to score 120 a game. They are physical in their defense, and they do, they have length. And obviously that's led by Rideau to a certain degree, and then Robinson and White, and everybody else kind of fits around that. So you're not going to get easy shots against them. The way you can get shots against Cheshire is if they get to that pace and they get carried away with themselves and they run and shoot some bad shots. You can get shots at the other end in transition. Surrey are not built to be a transition team at the moment, and that hurt them as well.
Zona and Diggins ensured the scoreboard finally reflected the dominance, up 11 with a couple of minutes to go to halftime. Second half, Lily with 5, Small with 4, 9 unanswered points early in the third quarter cut the gap to 5. But then 2 Zona threes, 1 from White. Cheshire with a 15-2 run sealed the game in the third quarter, 53-71.
If those bigs are getting the shots in the first quarter, you can kind of live with it. But when they're getting them in the third quarter as well, after they've made them in the first quarter, you have to be able to defend that action. It's not a complicated action. Generally, switching it is probably the best. So the defenders just switch. But even then, you saw, if you're a split second late in what you were doing, they will get that shot off and they will beat you with it. And it's the ones that they make the ones, having watched them so much, watched all these games, they make the ones you expect them to make. They make when they're open and when the ball's coming out, and everybody knows where they're. Cheshire have the best shot profile in the league. They shoot at the rim or they shoot threes. There are very, very few contested twos. Robinson doesn't shoot them. Robinson gets to the rim. Rideau basically gets to the rim. Brenchley gets to the rim or he shoots threes. I can hardly remember contested 2-point jump shots from Cheshire. And it's very difficult to get them into. They don't shoot them because anytime anybody gets in the lane, if they're not at the rim, they know where their shooters are going to be, and you've got to be really disciplined defensively. And I don't think Surrey were.
Sorry, yeah. Small 19.7 rebounds. Lily 4 of 6 for 3 for 17 points. Graham 12 points, 12 rebounds. Diggins 11 of 14, 24 points, 10 rebounds. Zona 5 of 9 for 3 for 23 points. Robinson 22.6 assists. The most amazing stat to me in this game was there were only 16 offensive rebounds for Cheshire. I thought that must be wrong. It felt like they absolutely smashed them on the glass. It felt like there were more. And only 12 second chance points.
Yeah, and Diggins killing people quietly, 24 and 10. You fall asleep on him because of all the other guys, but he's very good around the rim, very good.
Shall we go to some games that actually followed the rules and as a
Yeah,
result were accessible? Shall we do that?
absolutely. Yeah, come on.
London Lions 74, Manchester Basketball 91. Lukashuna, Sandy, Price, McGusty out. Jonathan Williams back. Obviously, Kane Hendry still out for Manchester. Even start. London got out to 6 a couple of times. There was never really very much in this in the first quarter. To be honest with you, in the second quarter as well, it was a similar sort of story.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, kudos to London for winning Besiktas on the
Yeah,
Wednesday
yeah.
night. That's a hell of a win, and they've come out of that and had to then play Friday, Sunday as well. So that's where a coach gets his, has his difficulties really, and maybe, as I say, this is why between game momentum does not exist.
Mm,
Because they play so well, they're on a high. Then you've got to get back onto that high the next time out. Newcastle played so badly in Bulgaria in the first quarter, they're on a low. They come out next time, the first quarter, they're ready to play.
mm.
And they made some shots early, London. But I mean, it's very difficult following London at the moment because you're working out who's playing. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
really,
yeah.
it really is. It's, I don't know, it's getting a little bit disconcerting. Um, I mean, I appreciate people are injured and that, and obviously they're going to be injured, and obviously Price is out, Sandy is out, and they're guys who've been consistently there. Then they've replaced Scott because he's out, and Soko's back, and I'm looking at it now. I'm guessing they've got 16 or 17 active SLB players,
Mm,
and this is where the injury report stuff comes in.
mm,
'Cause I think I really say disconcerting is I think teams are entitled to know who they're playing, who's active and who's not active.
mm,
And before now, obviously nobody else is reporting injuries, so I'm not saying that if Sandy's injured, they say they have to put out something saying that Sandy's injured makes any differently. But I think in relation to the Americans that they're choosing to play in each game or the foreigners that they're choosing to play in each game because they can only play four, I think there's an argument that that should be publicly available information.
mm,
I just think it was designed as a rule to level things up, if that makes any sense, to give other teams a chance. London can only have four American player or four import players, um, but in fact, it can go the other way if you're preparing all week to play McGusty and then he doesn't show up.
mm,
And that may be maybe I may be being a bit sensitive there,
mm,
but I can. They've now got seven. Yeah, they've got seven. They've got Scott and and the six they've got registered. They only play four of them. You've got injuries. You've got all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I just think it's difficult. But that said, it didn't really impact Manchester because Manchester. I want to talk. I haven't really talked about much about Manchester this year, trying to get a feel on them. And in this game, they ran away with it in the second.
Also coming off a good European one. We mentioned
Yeah,
the other ones we should mention as
yeah,
well.
I think that's true. I think that was a game they would expect to win against. I think it was a Czech team they were playing
Mm,
against. Wes Persson Jr., ex-Eagles, playing for them. But they were like two or three American team, Czech team. And what I've seen of Czech teams in the NBL so far haven't really impressed me, to be honest. But they have to win. But it's really interesting what's going on in Manchester, and it's taken us ages to get to grips with exactly what they are. And I think it's also probably taken the coach a little bit of time to figure out what he's got because he's got a panoply of talent. He's got an embarrassment of riches almost, and it's fitting them all together, which has been the issue. And you've seen some tweaks in the last couple of weeks. You've seen Osborne playing at the four more.
mm,
They brought Shelton in to be a kind of a third string centre, which I don't think anybody else in the league apart from London would have the resources to do. So it gives him more options. You've had the growth of Adikasi as a
yeah, yeah.
starting four-man, because we hadn't really played much when Irvin was there, and at the beginning of the season he was kind of coming off the bench, and he's just an absolute knockdown corner shooter and just an all-round winning player. And the coach has then still got to fit the three guards in. Obviously, he made a decision to release John early in the season, and also he's kind of gone against the grain, and we worried about Nicholson.
Mm,
Nicholson is actually, now starting against Osborne to come off the bench, and he likes that combination. And Nicholson is basically just playing drop coverage and standing under the basket defensively, and and making people shoot 15, 18-foot jump shots over him. So they have a number of different ways of playing. You add in Irvin to that, and that cheap stuff as well. So at times, and he's decided that he wants Osborne to come off the bench as a playmaker, and I like that decision because I think you get more off Osborne off the bench than you do off Nicholson off the bench.
mm.
And then with Irving being out, Adjukasi's got to play. And the advantage of having Adjukasi play is when you've got ball dominant guards, and that's Cleary, Jones, and Smith, the three starting guards, it can all get a bit dribbly. Everybody's putting their head down, everybody's taking multiple dribbles. If you've got that guy stood in the corner all the time, who's knocking down shots, it means there's a lot more space. And for instance, if you have Irving there, who's cutting to the rim all the time,
Yeah.
so it doesn't get out, and you've got Nicholson there already. So Irving and Nicholson, not a great fit because they play close to the rim. They both play close to the rim, and there's very little spacing on the court then. But if you start Alistair Cassie and Nicholson, and then you bring Irving and Ossaboyan, so Ossaboyan is catching the ball at the top, and then he can hit Irving on the cut, or Ossaboyan's playing the 4 spot, and people don't really know how to guard him because he's such a good passer. Then suddenly it takes everything up. Then you add in Johnson coming off the bench, who's a different type of point guard, because what Johnson's looking to do is to basically go one-on-one with people in space, whereas the other guards are every guard in the league is about screen and roll now. Everything's screen and roll. Johnson actually turns that the other way around. He likes to face people at one-on-one and score on them. It's kind of old school. And so then you've got to guard him differently to you. You've got to guard everybody else. So they've got a lot of options now. And I like the way that he's kind of putting the picture together. They're putting the pieces together. And that's not just off the back of wins. It's just off the back of working out which guys complement each other.
Yeah.
The big skill, And I think you're seeing that offensively now that he's got that Matt Otten's got that going and understood that. And they handed it to London in the third quarter, Dan.
Yeah, they did. They scored the first 7 points to lead by 10, 53-43, and then near the end of the quarter scored 13 points without reply to basically seal it at 57-79.
And we've said it before, ultimately London, without Joel Scott, don't have the get out of jail card.
And if they did, it was McGusty who was also out.
Exactly. So McGusty, the two guys who can get a bucket, basically.
Yeah.
McGusty can get a bucket from the top. He's tough to guard. Reynolds has just come back.
Although he was unbelievable on Wednesday night, to be fair, down the stretch, Reynolds.
Yeah, well, he's a high level player, I get that. But he's going to be playing 20 minutes, isn't he?
Yeah.
Randall makes some shots now. So Randall's looking like the guy we thought he was, kind of ex-Super League player, because he's making shots. But they do have a little bit of a, they're still, I'm impressed with what he's doing with Adamo. He's sticking with him as a point guard. He's certainly not a pure point guard. If you told me before the season, if they were down a guard, I would have thought you'd have used Rye ahead of Adamo as a point guard, to be honest. But you look at Adamo's body, his next development is to be able to run a team, because he's 6'4", and he's got the defensive chops and the physicality to be able to defend bigger guards in Europe. Obviously, they're missing Solowadi as well. It's another one we've talked about who's not playing. But there's still a little bit of shot creation not there without McGusty and without Scott. Someone has, and the guards are coming in and out, so you've got to hope maybe Tariq goes off. And in this game, matched up with a team which could play as physical as they can, with the size. Manchester, and of course Manchester's players all looking for the videotape, then we beat Besiktas, but we beat them, give me a job, So I thought I was just really impressed with Manchester. London are going to have games like this. I mean, it's tough to play. And I said, making excuses for them. They've got 17 players, but it's still tough to be up for every single game all the time when you don't have your kind of specialist game-changing guys. And that is, as you say, McGusty and Scott, or going back, Matt Morgan and Sam Decker or whoever, So they are going to be a little bit more beatable. It'll be really interesting to see what they're like in the trophy semi-finals, really, because they've got a lot of games, and and also they're playing the cup quarter-final up here and then Newcastle for the quarter-final as well. It would be really interesting to see what prioritization there is in relation to those games. So Bonus strikes me as a guy who wants to win every game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm beginning to warm to him. Not that I was cold on him, but I begin to warm to his commitment to it all and to the things that he's saying. So I think they'll go hell for leather for everything. But at some point in time, there's going to be a reckoning about that, because I'm not sure it's feasible.
Where am I? I'm lost where I am on the page. Here I am. Randall, 5 of 6 for 320 points. Williams, 13 points. Reynolds, 10. Cleary, 26 points. Jones, 16. Added to Cassie, 14 points. 5 of 5 shooting and 9 rebounds.
And we have to give Cleary a shout because this kid is a Manchester kid,
Mm,
and he is coming back and he's come back from Germany Pro A, and he is looking like one of the better guards in this league. Certainly, he's a bit unique in relation to he's wiry, he's skinny. Let's be frank. He's got, but he shoots. So he has this kind of ability to shoot the ball from above his head,
mm,
almost Durant like, Kevin Durant like, which is kind of unblockable in this league anyway. And he is comfortable shooting it from anywhere.
mm,
And he has to be a real candidate for GB going forwards. I think simply because of his he's an ungainly type of guard. He doesn't move particularly smoothly, but he gets to his spots, and when he shoots it, it's generally going in. Elder Cassie just doesn't miss, as we're going to
mm.
talk about.
There we are. Let's carry on talking about them then, shall we? Manchester basketball 94, Surrey 89 is 80. Manchester jumped out to a 12-4 lead early on. Surrey couldn't make a shot, but then they did go out of a timeout. They responded with an 11-2 run to lead 14-15.
Yeah, for those going back to this game, everyone wants to watch this back if they've got the time or the inclination. This is a greatest example of Manchester's defensive philosophy, basically, because we've talked in the past about defending the screen row. How do you defend it?
Mm,
Manchester's defending the screen row in full on what we call drop coverage, which is either Nicholson or Ossoboyan. Literally, they don't bother coming up to the screen. They're not at the level of the screen where it's set. This is a big guy underneath them who's guarding the guy who sets the screen. They're just ignoring it. They're just stood there. They're sat there.
yeah,
8 feet basically on the no charge circle,
yeah, yeah,
saying you're not going to score at the rim. What that means is the guys on the wings aren't helping. So all the other players who aren't in the screen row, the other three, they're being defended man on man, and no one's having to move across. Right.
yeah,
What that gives up is the 15-foot jump shot,
yeah,
and it gave up the 15-foot jump shot the whole game.
yeah,
What Matt Otten is saying is, I will live with you making 15-foot jump shots, even if it's someone like Keano Lilly, who may be the best 15-foot jump shot maker in the league.
yeah,
Dribble. I will live with that because, as Rob said in his commentary, you're not getting threes, and if you want to come to the rim,
yeah,
there's Matt Nicholson, there's a
yeah,
support,
yeah,
right? And Surrey, basically, it's very difficult to keep shooting those shots time after time after time after time. Whenever they needed a basket, Lloyd called a timeout, and they would come and they'd run a high screen, and Keano Lilly or Ron Polite would drop a 15-foot jump shot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's tough to do it every single possession down because you're always looking for other options. And so what Manchester were doing was basically baiting them into those shots,
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
you might make 45% of them, but we're still going to win the game.
yeah.
A perfect example, great example of a coaching strategy, which is designed not about the individual possession, but designed about the whole game
Whole
and the
game.
players that you.
That's the thing is because it was literally the game was them shooting elbow jumpers
Yeah,
basically, and
because
and
that's what,
missing a load of them and getting some offensive rebounds.
and what happens then is the players also become a bit antsy about that, the
Yeah,
offensive players. So then you might see, Nadas who doesn't really have that 15-footer in his game, he decides, oh, I've got a lane, I've got to get speed up off the screen. He runs straight into Nicholson. It's a hard shot,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then you've got Graham knocking around the rim, getting offensive rebounds out of them, but you're not getting your threes. And unfortunately, what we talked about in the last game, Surrey aren't a great transition team
no,
because they don't, Polite's not a lightning fast point guard. They don't really, they don't have the depth at this point to kind of get up and down that way. And Lily's a guy who's looking for his spots. So how are you going to score? And not enough. And then again, we had another Adatu game, didn't we?
yeah, yeah, we did, yeah. They had a 16-4 run late in the third quarter, basically sealed the game. Although, to be fair to Surrey, they kept on going, and Manchester in the last couple of minutes did their best to try and help them back into the game with some
But to be
couple of
fair, I didn't
fouls,
watch the last 3 minutes. I just
oh,
turned
you need to go back and watch it because they turned the ball over about 3 times.
right.
Then there was a ridiculous unsportsmanlike foul,
Oh no.
which was Smith. I think was it Smith or Jones? I think it might have been Jones actually.
Uh,
Who it was a fast break layup, and he literally grabs him by the shoulders and pulls him back on that.
What was the 2
Osaboyan.
minutes I don't watch? You know,
Yeah. Then on
Totally
that,
everything.
so on that play, that bearing in mind it was like 12 at that point, I think.
Yeah.
So an unsportsmanlike with 2 minutes to go, and then Osaboyan mouths off to one referee, gets a technical,
Oh,
mouths off to the other referee, gets a technical.
oh
He's
no.
disqualified from the game. They got 4 free throws and possession. It's like,
Oh,
what are you doing here? It
I
was
couldn't remember
mad.
watching that. Oh, disastrous. Literally, I watched it again this afternoon, having driven back from Centre Parks, and I thought,
Yeah, yeah.
do a bit of work. So then,
I well understand why anybody would have turned that game off with four
yeah,
minutes to go, but at least the last 2 minutes is worth
I will
watching
go
just for
back.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
Osaboyan's got, as I say, he's on that line between committed, wired, and crazy.
yeah,
You know, and he's not. And you need all bits of all of those three, I think, at times to be a pro basketball player, but you need to know when to use them, you know. And he was, he's interesting from the first minute he got here, I think. Um, I think he's a winning player though, so I'm
yeah,
going to give
yeah,
him a little bit
yeah.
of credit.
When the first game, I did the commentary on his first game. I think it was was it European game or was it? I can't remember. I was thinking, wow, this guy is right on the edge, and there
Yes.
didn't seem to be any reason for it,
Yeah.
but he seems to have managed to sort of control it all, and he's like so impactful in this game, unbelievably impactful. But then you get him screaming at the ball after he's got a breakaway dunk. And stuff like that, and then getting two unbelievable stat line, and then he gets disqualified, and you're like,
It's like what we are. Yeah, you can't. That lane wears out. You remember they
yeah,
had Isaiah Moore last year, the
yeah,
Leicester
yeah,
top 10 guy who was too far across that lane.
yeah,
Talented. Then you have the Caledonia guys that Caledonia signed at Christmas.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, too if you're too far across the line,
yeah,
you're not going to last, and ultimately
yeah,
you're going to destroy your team.
yeah,
So the one thing about Osaboyan that I'll say is that because he's passed first, he's not going to destroy his team from
no,
inside.
no,
Even by doing stupid things, it's
yeah,
something you have to live with because players will always live with players who pass.
yeah. It's all right getting disqualified with 2 minutes to go in a game that you win by 14.
Yeah, well, it's
That's the
not.
thing.
It's not really
It's
because
not. But if you're going to do it, that's the point to do it.
it is. The problem is it's indicative of other stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, wasn't there a game? Was it? Did he get
oh,
ejected on a technical against Leicester? Wasn't it when Leicester were coming back in the fourth
I
quarter?
think so. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
think it
yeah.
was.
It's
Somebody did.
indicative. It's indicative of these things are never in isolation.
Yeah, yeah,
They're always indicative of problems either before or after. And this is actually the best thing about doing this every week is that we get to talk about these narratives as and before they happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So we can go back. So 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was saying, "Oh, I'm quite impressed with this Adjukasi fella."
yeah, yeah,
And this weekend, he hasn't missed a shot.
yeah, yeah,
Because you can see it kind of, you can see that people, you can see them and you can talk about all of them all the time, which is good because it means you just don't get to kind of the what's he doing? He's an idiot or whatever.
yeah,
We've talked about the various characters beforehand. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, this is when I was talking about Surrey before, when I kind of fear for them, this is kind of why this was a little bit Caledonia-esque in that you didn't really see them.
Well,
You
I
know,
thought go back and watch the last three
oh,
minutes.
that's
I
2 minutes.
thought,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I
But
thought they had
was that okay?
they
Was
could
that
have got.
was that Surrey or was that self-destruct?
There was a bit of pressure from Surrey, so they were. I mean, there was some self-destruction in there as well, but it was initiated, I would say, by
I
Surrey
mean,
and Manchester
they do
leading
have a
up to
little
it.
bit more, but they do have. I do think they have a little bit more about them at the moment than Caledonia do. A little bit more kind of energy and intensity about them than Caledonia do. But what I will say is, at the end of the day, they've lost by 20 to home to Cheshire, who are five
Yeah,
team at this point, and by away at Manchester, a team who I think they're already beaten. Um,
twice, home and
yeah,
away.
yeah, and they lost by 15 with Manchester kind of going away. And I just think it's a lot of it is roster with them. Query's a major loss for them.
Yeah,
Really
major.
major loss.
Added to Cassie, 9 of 9 from the floor, 22 points and 5 rebounds. Osterboy, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 technicals. Nicholson, 6 of 6 shooting for 13.7 rebounds. So you got two guys there of 15 of 15
Yeah,
for
that's the starting four and
35
the
points.
starting five.
Yeah,
15 of 15.
yeah,
And there and Osterboy was five. Not Osterboy. Adikasi was 5 of 5 in midweek and
yeah.
Friday night.
I've got a stat on that in a
All right.
second.
Okay. Cool.
Lily, 25 points, 5 assists. Polite, 21 points, 6 assists. Graham, 13 points, 14 rebounds, 7 and 7, 7 offensive, 7 defensive, but 36% field goal shooting, 4 of 18 from 3, 21 offensive rebounds, 16 second chance points.
And that's all about the shot distribution we were talking about. Polite, and then he's shooting the shots coming off the screen. Graham getting the rebounding, but Small never touched the basketball. So Small never got going at all. He's a 17-point scorer. Didn't get going. Tolovinskas didn't really get any looks. It was all, they kept the wings out of the game.
So added to Cassie, 14 of 14 field goal shooting, which is the most in the live stats era without a miss in a single weekend. Patrick Tape was 6 of 6 and 8 of 8 in consecutive games in December 22, but that was a Friday followed by a Wednesday, so not this same.
Do we know if he made his last one in the game before this?
Well, I haven't gone back and checked that.
No.
I've got a bit more on this. Anthony Alici was 7 of 7 and 6 of 6 in February 2017, but that was Friday and then a week Sunday.
Yeah, well, that name brings me out in hives.
Alici,
he made a 3 at the buzzer. He made only 3 of the season at the buzzer at Surrey Sports Park to tie us on an offensive rebound and take a game to overtime, which I think we subsequently lost when for some reason we left Teo wide open in the corner. Alici made that 3, and good scouting report decision, but anyway, go on.
The previous record for in live stats era, so 2008 onwards, for most made field goals without a miss in a single weekend was 11. I would let you have a guess, but I think 6 minutes and 36 seconds was an easier guess than this was, Dave.
Okay, give us a year. I'll give us a team.
So it was Friday the 22nd of March 2013 and Sunday the 24th of March 2013. 7 of 7 and 4 of 4, and it was for Durham.
For Durham. Whoa, Danny Huffer?
No.
He shot. That Durham team had.
It was a guy I didn't even remember. I can't picture him in my head.
That's some skillful, smart guys playing for them, that team. If you tell me, no, I can't.
Peter Simek.
No, I don't remember him.
Don't remember him
No,
at
I
all.
don't remember him. I think he was maybe a non-permit Czech guy, came in, something like that. Didn't play many games for them. We never played against him. He was never on a scouting report. I wrote all the scouting reports.
Well,
no.
you would have said he went 11 for 11 in March 2013, and that was the previous best before added to Cassie at the weekend. Let's go to the final game. Caledonia Gladiators 74, London Lions 82. Fagbenley and Holland still out. Soko, I've written down he was out, wasn't he? Or was he back? I can't remember. Reynolds added to the list of those who missed Friday. Lucas Shunas back into the lineup, having missed Friday. This was his first start of the season in the SLB. I haven't checked Europe. Did he start on Wednesday? He played really well on Wednesday. I can't remember. Goodwin with a couple of threes to cap an 11-0. We've already talked about the lack of leads. They did lead 4-2. Goodwin, a couple of threes to cap an 11-0 run to give London a 9-21 lead.
It was a lot better from Caledonia than the last time they played up there, which was a 50-point blowout. And, a team which was basically coming apart at the seams. I think they've got a chance with the group that they've got now to pull it back together again. But they've got to stay healthy. And it's only a chance. I'm no way am I certain it's going to happen. London just got every shot they wanted in this game and missed most of them, I thought. I was watching it with the sound down most of the time, and I think Mike and Lucas Shunas got lots of open looks. They were able to move the basketball, and they were able basically to take away a lot of Caledonia's penetration. It's very difficult in this league to operate without a scoring point guard. Kyle Jimenez does a lot of things, but he's not what you'd regard as a scoring point guard. And you have to be very precise in your sets. And if you're running precise sets, then you have to get your advantages. The difficulty is that London's physicality is such that even if Caledonia are running precise sets to get good looks, it's still hard. Because London can cover the gaps and take them. So you're left with kind of Caledonia needing to make a lot of not Hail Mary shots, but a lot of tough shots, and that's why they only scored 9 points early on.
Mm,
And Goodwin came off the bench, and Caledonia were in that zone a little bit as well, trying to mix things up, which I think is a great idea. Given what you've got, the problem is that you can't give up corner threes off one pass against the zone, which they did a couple of times, and eventually some of the London guys, Randall, Goodwin, who comes in and kind of at times, he impresses with his confidence. Goodwin,
mm,
you can see he's been told which shots he has to shoot. And you can almost see that he's been told that if he doesn't shoot those shots, he ain't playing.
mm,
So he's not shy, which is important, giving the young player confidence. His kind of, and he moves the ball well. He will make the extra pass in the perimeter. What he probably needs as a mid is something a little bit off the dribble to get to his next level. It's not the next level, but to get to his next level, at his size, he's got to be a little bit more than just a guy who can start a spot up and shoot. So maybe that one dribble pull up when the defense is off balance, that type of thing, if he gets that. But they need him because they've got so many other players who aren't playing. And then the game kind of just laboured away, I thought, until
mm.
Sabonis got entertainingly irritated with his defense when Ragsdale made three threes from
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that was funny.
Basically, that was the next bit for the third time.
Yeah,
Bless him, because it's one thing making those shots, but making them right in front of him is a cool.
right in front of him as
And then when
well.
he
Yeah,
knows that Ragsdale's the guy, because Ragsdale's gone off on them down there, I think, and made some
yeah,
shots down there. When he knows that Ragsdale's the guy who's not meant to be getting those shots,
yeah.
right in front of him, it's like, oh yes, he wasn't happy.
He wasn't. Gladiators got it down to 3 in the second quarter. An 8-0 finish to the half, though, had London out to 30-45. They looked comfortable after that, except for the last few minutes when Ethan Wright went nuts, scored 12 consecutive unanswered points to make it 67-73 with 2 minutes to go. And suddenly it looked a bit interesting, but then Philip made sure it didn't get any closer than that.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan Wright did that a few times for Leicester, didn't he? There was a
Yeah,
around the end of Newcastle where he went absolutely crackers
yeah.
and made players. And yeah, he's the one because he played in that winning team last year, and because and because he makes those plays in transition defensively, and I think he's the best placed of that team to become the leader of that team. They need a leader,
Mm,
you know, and to be a leader, it's not just kind of clenching your fists and saying let's come on guys, let's do it. You have to lead partly with your actions, partly with your emotional intelligence, and partly with your play.
yeah,
So so he is the one I think who can, because that little bit of screw it, if we're gonna go down, we're not gonna go down this way type of thing. He has that in his locker. I'm not sure I've seen that out of any of the others.
mm,
We're talking about Spielman and Ragsdale. Those are efficient guys, but they're kind of second, third, fourth option guys who are efficient in what they do. But I haven't really seen that kind of that thing that extra stuff that Wright does. I haven't really seen it out of Holland either, the point guard. So it might be him. It might be him that that basically drags him towards respectability. But yeah, I don't want to be too down on them, but they have to at some point play like they're going to win, and to do that, you have to get in the lead.
yeah, yeah.
You have to maintain the lead.
Mm,
You can't keep going down 12 and 15 in the first quarter or in the second quarter and playing from behind, and then you get your little run, then the opposition coach calls a timeout, and then they have a little run, and you're still down 15.
yeah, yeah.
That's what's happening too often with them.
Mm. Wright 21 and 13 rebound. Ragsdale 19. Brian 12. Mikesell 12. Randall 11. Both the Williamses and Rye had 10. Right, let's get to the table. I've just realised, Dave, I forgot to declare my bottle of prosecco that Manchester gave me earlier
Wait,
today.
well, no, come on. I mean, they must have seen you
Forgot to
coming.
declare
I
that.
mean, I got 2 cans of lager from last year. You get a bottle of Prosecco. I mean, obviously, if everybody knows that, the reason that you're there the Sunday before Christmas is to pick up whatever freebies are going. I'm amazed
I
if
wore a Christmas jumper. I've never owned a Christmas jumper before this year. I wore a Christmas jumper, and the guy at the wrap thing said it was the best Christmas jumper he'd seen.
I mean, you're just playing with the emotions of these people.
Well, it is, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, anything for a
It's
bottle of Prosecco? Well, enjoy it.
yeah. Well, I think the wife will enjoy it before I get
Well,
much of it.
tell her she can have my half.
I will do. Let's go through the table. London will be top at Christmas, 10 and 2. Bristol in second, 8 and 5. Cheshire next up, 8 and 7. Manchester 7 and 4. Sheffield 7 and 5. Leicester 5 and 6. Newcastle 5 and 7. Surrey 3 and 7. And Caledonia 2 and 12. And the one thing I did look up earlier, Dave, just especially for you, Leicester and Newcastle below 500 at Christmas for the first time this century.
Wow. Wow.
Christmas 1999 was the last time they were both below 500. Obviously, individually, they've been below 500. There were
Seriously,
a couple of years.
Newcastle rather created that stat by a bit.
Well, yeah, it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mistake.
There was a couple of times where one of them was 500 and the other one was below, but it's the first time since 1999 that they've both been below 500 in the league at Christmas.
No, there we go. That's a yeah.
There's,
Change the
there's
guard. The
been some,
things are changing.
yeah, there's been,
I think they're both quite upwardly mobile teams
yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah,
in the league at the moment. I think
yeah,
they could be Newcastle have won the last four against SLB opposition,
yeah,
and Leicester have got a very different team to the one that was 0-4 at the beginning of the
yeah,
season.
yeah.
So I'm not sure that'll last, but yeah, both.
There's been some good stats today, Dave.
Yeah, 6
There's
minutes.
been some good stats today.
36.
So that brings us to Christmas, basically. Any sort of king speech from the
No, not
northeast?
really.
Yeah,
Let's let goodwill to
Bishop.
all men, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Goodwill to all men, women, and the occasional referee. I think so.
And any Shane McGowan's in the northeast? Do you get the call Christmas Eve from the drunk tank,
Oh,
Dave? Is that
absolutely, yeah. Well, they don't look. They don't. Happy they don't arrest people for being drunk and disorderly. But
yeah,
there's a couple of happy domestics. Maybe you never know. Maybe out on Christmas Day. We'll see.
yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody will be fine. Hopefully those people who put a lot of time in around the league, those who necessarily get paid and those who don't get paid, they'll get the chance to have at least a few days off before we get into kind of the festive program, and have fun and have some time with family and all that stuff. A word out for Niall as well, friend. I think I saw a picture of today, a friend of this show who's been in hospital.
Has he? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
there's a picture on Facebook. He's of him having had some emergency procedure in hospital. So I gather he's getting better, but word out for him.
Yeah, well, shout out to
Um,
Niall.
and yeah, hope everybody kind of is able to forget about this silly sport for a few days and then and then come back to it with a vengeance. 3 days after Christmas when we're all bored and looking for something to do.
Indeed, which is exactly what me and Dave are going to do now. We'll be back at some point next week. I'm not sure when. I haven't looked that far ahead to even see when the games are, but we'll be back from that. So everybody, have a great Christmas, and we'll see you on the other side. I'm just off to drink my prosecco.
Half of it.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.